If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Hello, everyone. This is Theo from Making It Make Sense with Isaiah, Jasper, and Theo. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and listen out for new episodes every Friday. Follow us on Instagram and leave us a comment at Making It Make Sense IJT, or email us at makingitmakesense@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Making It Make Sense with Isaiah, Jasper, and Theo. Today, we're going to talk about my nigga, Joe Rogan. That despicable, raggedy ass of a human being. I don't know about you guys, but I don't really know Joe Rogan. And I didn't even know this mediocre white man was so significant in anything. Last time I heard about Joe Rogan, he was doing Fear. Was it Fear Factor? Remember Fear Factor? Yeah. It was Fear Factor, where they'll make you like eat like donkey balls or sleep with snakes or something.
Yes.
And so when I was hearing all this hoopla about Joe Rogan, I was like, the Fear Factor motherfucker, like. But now this mediocre white man gets $100 million from Spotify. Hello, Spotify. Isaiah, Jasper, and Theo will want some of that. But and he is just not the best human being. And then you also started hearing stuff about him about the COVID vaccine and COVID misinformation that he was sharing with the world. I was like, sit the fuck down and go back to Fear Factor. But I really don't know anything about Joe Rogan. So if you Negroes can educate me on his bullshit and his fuckery, and on top of the fact that he's been using the N-word like there's no tomorrow. And once again, just shows me that this man is another level of gutter trash and so Neanderthal-like and uneducated.
Well, I don't know about him either. I didn't even know he was part of the Fear Factor franchise until you brought it to my attention. So I didn't know he was a part of that franchise. Didn't know what he did until all this stuff happened with him using the N-word and being an ass and making an ass of himself. So once again, another white cracker doing what they want to do. So.
So Joe Rogan hosted Fear Factor a number of years back, and that's really the most I knew of him. And then he had hair, so I had to reorient around his bald ass head. So
yeah, that is true. He did have hair.
Yeah, he had hair then. Once upon a toupee, whatever. But I guess the issue really starts with, so let's talk about where the issue really starts. So obviously it starts with the COVID information of it all, right? So this is something that we've been dealing with, the world over throughout the course of this pandemic. We're in season 3 of the pandemic, right? So this where people with platforms and spaces of notoriety and things like that are speaking from a place of being science literate, like we discussed last season, actually, when they're not. And that even goes for some of us everyday folk. We're not as science literate as somebody that's actually in healthcare, right? Or that's actually in science or works in that space. And so it's alarming to see the amount of people Joe Rogan included, specifically in this situation, speaking from a scientific place when you are not science literate, you don't really know what you're talking about.
When he doesn't have the authority.
Yes, you don't have the authority to be speaking on such things. So that was an issue. Obviously, we saw, musicians like, sorry, so obviously you listeners cannot see this right now, but there is a very funny picture that has replaced Jasper's face on our screen. And it might be our nigga Joe Rogan. So,
He looks like he's saying, "Yas."
He looks like a person.
Because of course you would be using one of our colloquialisms to So anyway, so obviously from that fallout and that being, I believe in one of his podcast episodes or maybe multiple episodes that I'm not completely versed on because I don't listen to the Joe Rogan Experience, just not my cup of tea. But he received backlash, and Spotify, who hosts his podcast, received backlash in the form
and who also hosts our podcast, by the way.
Yes, also ours. Yes.
Yes. So Spotify, if you're listening, this is a problem, but we're about to get into it. So anyway, so that resulted obviously in backlash in the form of artists like Neil Young and Joni Mitchell, and a slew of other artists leaving the platform because they went, okay, what are you doing? And then then we come upon another issue altogether, where and here's the thing, this is not just, I just want to be clear about this. This is not up for debate. It's not up for discussion. It's not a supercut where yes, it was a supercut of him saying the word 24 times plus, but it's not up for debate. It's not that we got some kind of weird raw cut of him saying this word magically like he had never said it. India Ari shared a supercut of him saying the N-word 24 times. Hard R. This is not we playing around and we talking between each other and we're saying, "What's up, my nigga?" Like this is like him hard R.
Mind you, us men, black men, don't feel comfortable even using the hard R.
Thank you. Exactly. Ourselves. So for you to, as Trevor Noah said, act like you bought it in bulk at Costco is wild to me. So so she puts up this thing on her Instagram, or slew of videos on her Instagram, where she's explaining why she's leaving the platform. And just to note, she also expressed herself that it's not that she believes in cancel culture, and you can't see me, but I'm putting quotes around that, or that she thinks that he is a racist. It has to do with the fact that a major streaming platform is not going to take this person to task for saying this in whatever context, because as he said himself in the video, once he was caught, having sex, there is no context in which you should be saying that word hard R. And let me just make a blanket statement, and this is from, I think I can say, Jasper and Theo, that you guys sit in the same space as me with this. There is no context in which anybody that we know or don't know that is not Black, and even Black people hard R, we're not saying it, okay? You shouldn't be saying it. There's no reason for you to say it. There's no reason for you to slip and call it to something, period. There's just not at all.
It feels uncomfortable. It feels dirty.
It feels
heavy. It tastes like metal, like you have a bunch of pennies in your mouth.
Actually, yes.
And we're Black.
Yes.
Have you ever put a penny in your mouth? It tastes disgusting. So imagine 100 pennies.
Yeah.
Imagine sucking on 100 pennies like a peppermint. And it feels like you have a 100-pound weight in your mouth trying to say that. And to hear that feels like a 200-pound weight hitting you in the face. How is this white man comfortable enough or not cognizant enough to not be in the same headspace?
Because he doesn't care. He issued a lame apology, and bullshit apology, and he said he hadn't used the word in years, but you used the word. So that means you felt comfortable enough, you felt okay enough, and you was in spaces that made you feel like it was acceptable for you to use the word because you used it before. And you happen to get caught this time and blasted publicly for the world to see and hear this trash that you decided to say. People like him is the problem with America because they think that they can just say what they want to say and there's no consequence. And in this situation, Spotify did not remove him. Spotify did not fire him. He still get a good check at that. Spotify, like, I don't know what's going on up there in the headquarters, but I'm need y'all to like dismiss him and give us half of that. You can give us that check. We'll split 3 ways. We'll make use of that check. Y'all get him, Joe.
Oh, the advertisement.
For the advertisement, we'll take both either. Some
bullshit.
Hold
on. Alexa, how old is Joe Rogan?
Joe Rogan is 54 years old.
Old as hell.
That's a 54-year-old white man. He knows better.
Old as hell. He knows better.
Well, old enough to know better. That's the point.
Yes.
One of the things I also wanted to bring up really quick is not just his use of the hard R here, but the fact that you likened Black people going into a movie theater in a Black neighborhood as if you were walking into Planet of the Apes.
He tried it.
So, this is not, it doesn't just limit itself to, I mean, that's bad enough, but
the hard R
could not get, like, and here's the thing, and then it turns into this, like, he's out here saying, like, oh, well, people are trying to, like, politically, like, swing this and no, dude, you said, like, my nigga, you literally just sat up there and then you're gonna try to, like, gaslight people into being like, oh, well, I'm not racist. Okay, so what makes you racist then? Is it doing racist things? Is it saying racist things? Like, what is your definition of that?
I don't know. Black people and monkeys is such an old racist dog whistle.
Tired.
Like, we know that. And we know that that's not okay. But he felt like he needed to do that for the purpose of what? And first of all, I also heard that he's a comedian. Like, damn, Joe Rogan is multi-layer of trash on top of trash on top of trash. Like, that dog, come on, we know that dog whistle of Black people and monkeys and the historical disgustingness in this country with that. But once again, he must be from Planet of the fucking Apes because he looks like a fucking ape. Disgusting.
He looks like an ass.
And he looks like Mr. Steroids, by the way. I wouldn't be targeting Mr. Clean. Mr. Clean on steroids.
Oh, listen, y'all better leave my Mr. Clean alone now. You don't look that.
I love me some Mr. Clean, but not this mother. Not this mother.
It's his apology that he can't. He had this apology that was a bunch of bull. Like, I didn't know better. Yes, I didn't know better. I want to do better. Like, you 54 years old, like, you know better, and that wasn't even funny. Like, how could you find calling Black people monkeys funny or comical?
Unless you know how he was raised, though.
Yeah,
because there's a certain age of people. There's a certain age of white people that kind of language, that jargon, that kind of mentality isn't in their lexicon. If he was a 90-something-year-old man, I will say, like, this is his upbringing. He came from that time. Joe Rogan is considered to be a young, in terms of the grand scheme of age, he's considered to be a young 54.
He don't look it. Shit, he look very aged.
Because he's aging like milk.
Yes, that's what evil people age like that. When you're evil, you age like that. So he's just disgusting. He's a horrible human being. Like, it's like, what if we got on our platform and started making white jokes about crackers and saying that we go into the movie theater for the white people will feel like we're walking into a movie theater of saltines and we're like the chocolate and a room full of saltines. Like they wouldn't find it funny. They wouldn't find it funny. They would find it very offensive. So
That's reverse racism, Jasper.
Yeah,
That's inappropriate.
exactly. Oh yeah.
You know what though? Like, okay, so I do want to. I think that we feel that we are in a space where people of that in that age group wouldn't say things like that, right? I think that we I think that we from either our space or maybe just society overall might think that we are a little bit more advanced or that people from that space wouldn't be saying things like that. But the important thing to remember is this, and my mom always said this to me growing up. There are people that go home and they'll say shit like that in their own four walls about you. So like, so it's important to remember that just because we are maybe a little bit more socially polite about it, it doesn't mean that think about the level of microaggression that we deal with in general. That comes from somewhere. That comes from a racist space, period. So I think that yes, at 54, we would think that, okay, you're from a space where that's not socially acceptable. Yet at home, it might be. You know what I mean? Because you don't know what conversations are being had behind closed doors. So,
but that's what I meant, though. He's young enough to understand that you don't bring that shit to your job. You don't bring that shit to the public. You, whatever the fuck you choose to do in the four walls of the house that you pay the mortgage in, where you pay the bills, your kitchen table talk, I don't control that. And I can criticize that. I can criticize or be upset about what I don't know you talk about behind closed doors. For all I know, Joe Rogan loves to kiss horses. Go do that behind closed doors. The minute we find out, Peter gonna be up in your ass and they're gonna arrest your ass for bestiality or whatever. He's young enough to understand that if this is the way that you want to talk, if this is the way that you think, do that in the comfort of your home. Don't bring that to work. Don't bring that to our podcast on Spotify, where people are going to hear and be impacted by your ignorance, your arrogance, and your racism, and your bizarre dog whistles that you're holding on to that has nothing to do with the podcast or what's going on. Like, what was this podcast? What's this podcast about? The KKK? Or how it originated? Or like, what is it about?
That's the thing is, I don't understand exactly what you, I mean, I'm not, to be quite honest, I'm not interested in what the context of it was supposed to be. Like I could care less. I care that you said the word. I'm going to be totally honest about that. I don't care what story you were telling for all of
our no. Context does not matter. Go fuck yourself.
Absolutely. And here's the other, now this is what really, other than the actual situation at hand, this is what really set me on fire, is the fact that now, while not proud, still pissed off. Because then, instead of addressing this in the way it should have been addressed, which is, what people call cancel culture or whatever, and holding you actually accountable and going, I'm sorry, we're not in alignment with this. We're no longer going to be able to host your podcast.
Suspend him or something.
Right, with your $100 million contract, excuse me. Daniel Ek, the Spotify CEO, yes, I'm calling you by name, basically came out and said that canceling is a slippery slope, and that while he apologizes to the employees and things like that about the comments that Joe Rogan made, that they basically doubling down on that they're not going to remove it. However, they did quietly remove 71 episodes of his podcast with the offenses, the things that were in those episodes. They removed those episodes.
71, you said?
71.
They was gonna do that. That way they can make it seem like, oh well, we did take those offensive episodes out, so we didn't remove that content, but we're not gonna remove him. We're still gonna give him this platform to spread his bullshit. So it's like, what the fuck? If you're not doing it, that's still not. A consequence needs to happen. A consequence is suspending him, taking their paycheck, or firing him. You got three options.
Hit him where it hurts.
Yes,
hit him in the balls.
Yeah. Give us his paycheck or as advertising. It's us. We'll use it.
Give us his advertising.
And
Promote.
then they like, okay, we're going to, so because of that, now we're going to give the same amount of money that we're paying Joe Rogan, 100K, right? Whatever. We're going to give that to marginalized groups on the platform. Okay, so because India.Arie also popped out and said that they paid them like 0.3 or what 0.003% of a penny, you know, like some dusty shit.
For her music.
Yeah.
That's what they paid her for her good fucking music, by the way.
Good music. Not like, you know, bad comedy.
Yeah, it's the shame.
But like, it's, you know, that's what set me on fire. It was just like, wow, so, okay, we're going to just mask it as cancel culture. It's accountability. You are out here throwing around the N-word like what? I don't understand.
Like he bought it at Costco on bulk. It was just a good thing. And once again, and I don't want to hear nobody coming and open up their goddamn mouth, then, oh, Black people need to stop using the word in their song. Mind your fucking business.
Thank you.
However a community chooses to use words and colloquialisms, it is the community's business. Whatever the Jewish community wants to talk, how they want to talk, that is the Jewish community's business. The way Asian folks want to talk, that is Asian folks' business. They are the ones that create the rules. You have to abide by them. And if people hear whatever in music and whatever, then you make sure that you edit yourself around that music. Do not try to, they always come up with, when you're speaking about, you know, violence against people, Black people, everybody always wants to talk, oh, well, you know, there is black on black crime. Shut the fuck up.
We let you around your Confederate flag wherever the fuck you want to. So shut the fuck up and let us say what we want to.
Shut up. People always want to tell motherfuckers what to do in their community and how to carry on. That's your problem. Instead of talking to your white people and letting go of your ancestors' bullshit and fuckery in their language, then we can have a different conversation. Again, there's no reason why Joe Rogan should be using the N-word with the ER at the end. There is no reason. He should, as intelligent as he wants to appear, giving people misinformation about COVID, he should have been intelligent enough to say just the N-word. And he didn't have the right Black person around him because the right Black person would have punched him in his mouth. It's not okay. It's not okay. We're in 2022. These are things, boundaries, and rules that have been set up. And for some reason, when it comes to Black people, people just always seem bewildered and confused about what the rules and the boundaries are.
What do you guys feel about?
They're not confused. They just choose to not acknowledge and not follow those rules. They're not confused. They know exactly what the rules are. They know exactly, they've been here. So they just choose not to follow the rules, but they expect us to abide by all the rules. We're expected to stand by and do it and follow rule A through Z every day, all day, on the T. Like we expected to.
Now, what do you think about what? What do you guys feel about this now? The Spotify, so the aftermath of this or the fallout of this being that not just certain musicians and artists are pulling their content from Spotify, but individuals are canceling their accounts for that, because that is something I'm gonna just say straight out that I'm struggling with. But what are you guys' thoughts on that?
Are we what are we? Are we not are we considered employees of Spotify?
No, we ain't getting no Joe Rogan check. They ain't some other check, so we're not employees.
We are hosted.
Yes, we're distributors.
We get paid that 0.03%. Yes. We are being hosted by Spotify, which is where what Spotify should do is use marginalized groups or you know, up and coming podcasters of color, Black, Asian, Indian, whatever. Give them some shine. Spread some of that, you know, that light that you're shining on Joe Rogan raggedy ass and highlight other people, spotlight other people that are, well, how do you say this? Because not only our content, yes, of course, our content, woo woo, but other people who are the polar opposite of the ugliness and the COVID misinformation and the racism and the bigotry that he spewed into the airwaves. Remedy that by highlighting folks who are diverse, who are speaking, I don't know how to say it because I want to curse really bad and just want to say a bunch of profanity. I'm trying to stop myself. And people who are just the polar opposite of Joe Rogan. Get some Black women out there. Get some trans Black women out there. Get some trans people. Get some queer people. Get some, women representation out there. Get some Black voices out there to counteract the ugliness that Joe Rogan obviously has been spewing for years. And again, Joe Rogan has started using the ER word 2 days ago or 2 years ago. My understanding is his podcast has been around for 5 or more years.
Like 12 years.
Why are we calling out that motherfucker today? Once again, and I think that's a way, that's a very present moment. I just want to curse because I'm so disgusted. This episode is just going to be pure XXXXXXX, explicit. And get people out there, highlight other people to balance out the fuckery. Because when you have someone like Joe Rogan that gives COVID misinformation, highlight podcasts who are out there giving the proper information, who are science literate, who are scientists, who are authority in the infection. When Joe Rogan is talking his bigotry, get some Black voices out there. Get some female Black voices out there. Get some 3 melanated queer voices out there. Hint, hint, making it make sense with Isaiah, Jasper, and Theo out there who represent the polar opposite of what he is saying and what he's trying to represent. Because a large percentage of his audience who are white took those dog whistles of Black people and monkeys and Planet of the Apes and actually ran with it, and it perpetuated their bullshit. Those are some real-time things that Spotify can do.
They could, you're preaching to the choir because they love the chaos, they love all this drama because to them that's revenue, they bring attention to their platform that makes them trend because they're trending. So this is what they want. They want controversy. Controversy sells. Positivity doesn't.
Except dropping.
Yeah. Good. Watch. Yeah. Continue. I want that same energy people had for that Black man, that Black comedian, that Black icon, Dave Chappelle. They went out there and they protested. And they protested out there in Netflix offices. People walked out. So where's that same energy for this mediocre white man?
But doesn't that tell you
people? You said what?
Doesn't that tell you something?
Equity. Equity about, if we're going to call out Dave Chappelle because we feel somewhere about Dave Chappelle, then we should do the exact same thing to Joe Rogan. But I don't see the same energy.
Now,
after so, I got you.
No, so I agree, but both kept their jobs. Dave Chappelle kept his job, so both of them, nothing really. I agree, it should be equitable. The energy should be the same, but nothing's going to happen to either one. I mean, they treat Joe Rogan as like an icon in the Spotify world. Like Dave Chappelle is an icon in the comedy world. So they're not going to do anything. They're not going to do what we think they should. They're not the energy, and he's white, so they're not going to go out there and march. Employees not going to quit their jobs.
But he's not that talented, though.
Exactly. So they're not going to put the energy into employees.
So I'm like,
not talented. So
he is Joe Rogan is the personification of mediocrity.
People love mediocrity. That's why he still has a podcast. That's why he still has listeners. They love mediocrity. So unless those listeners stop listening.
We got to send an email over to Spotify and let them know. Listen up, bitches.
Now, look, don't send an email and get us smashed out the platform. We up and started. We need them to keep distributing
Well,
our episodes.
I'm gonna send them an email. Watch.
What do y'all think when I was like, because remember last episode we had dropped, I literally, in one of my little videos I did on Instagram, I was like listing off like, you can listen to us on Apple, YouTube, Anchor, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. And I just zoomed on because I was just like, really, y'all? Like, all of the curated playlists I've made under Spotify.
Now I hate that Spotify is like one of our main go-tos for our listeners. They use Spotify to listen to our stuff. So
Main distributors.
Yes, they distribute our stuff, and that's where like one of our main audiences use Spotify to listen to us. So like
So look at that. This kind of behavior from this raggedy ass white man puts it in a predicament as people of color, queer people, expected. We're black. Well, I'm black first before, and this is problematic for me. And it's problematic that the people who are hosting my podcast are not taking it as serious and seen as problematic as I am. So we are also in a conundrum here.
Yeah, I mean, we are. What do we do? We're up and coming. Like we snatch our little podcast out of Spotify and hope that makes a dent, or do we keep our podcast on here and keep using them to distribute our beautiful content?
Well, we can also we also have the option of promoting other people in our other product, because we still have iHeartRadio and Apple, and we also have YouTube. We don't actually tell other people that we have a YouTube page, and every episode you can find in our YouTube page.
Mm-hmm. But YouTube and Apple Podcasts. Shout out to Apple Podcasts, because that's our number one like source of like where people listen to Apple Podcasts. So shout out to y'all, because our listeners use them more than Spotify anyway. But y'all shady ass to Spotify. But
Thank you, Apple, home of Neil Young.
Thank you.
And Joni Mitchell.
Joni Mitchell.
I bet you think this song is about
Spotify. I gotta be honest, like, and all the way like leading up to, just, us getting together and talking about this. Like I was so livid at one point. I was gonna be like, guys, should we continue to like allowing, like, because I feel like it's a direct, and everything that we speak about and who we are, it's like a direct antithesis to everything that we stand by and that we speak about. And so, from our little corner of the world, I just want to say, like, Spotify, Daniel Ek, this is wild, for real. Like, that you're really gonna allow that? You mean to tell me that Joe, our nigga Joe, is your main source of income? Not all of
That's
the
what I'm
other
saying.
predominantly Black and BIPOC artists that generate income for you. So you're gonna stand by him. All right.
By the way, his name is Daniel Ilk, like Ilk.
Oh, Ek like EK, like
EK. That's an ugly last name. I'm sorry, Daniel. You need to do better.
Listen, I mean, I wasn't gonna come through that hard, but I am not responsible for what my brother's over here saying.
The same way Joe Rogan ain't responsible. So, Jasper, what were you trying to say?
I was saying that Joe, Joe is that token nigga. So like he's that token. So they're going to protect him. They're going to shield him. They're going to make sure that he's good. So they don't, he's the chosen one.
By the way, where are Joe Rogan's Black friends who are telling Joe Rogan, my nigga, this is not okay?
Joe Rogan. He has the opposite. It says, "Oh yeah, bro, Joe, don't say what you say, Joe."
Where are the Black women in his life telling him, my nigga, this is not okay?
He don't have those either. He has the opposite.
Because what's his face?
Yes, Joe.
Like, what's his face?
What's his what?
what's his fan base? Like,
Oh, no questions asked.
I mean, do we
You know the answer to that.
You know,
Exactly. So
We
you don't.
threw
But
in-
that's the
we know-
importance of having a diverse group, a group of thinkers and a group of leaders, and where everyone is equitable and everyone's voice can be heard, because someone can check someone and be a leader and be brave and cognizant enough to say, hey, this ain't okay. Hey, we need to revisit this and we need to apologize. Once again, let's check ourselves before somebody checks us.
Period. Check yourself before you get wrecked, Joe. Check yourself.
But
nigga.
nobody, they don't have that diverse set of friends. They don't have that. And once again, if you are a Black person, you were okay with Joe Rogan all these years using the ER, you need to check your Blackness.
That part, because I would have slapped the shit out of Joe.
Whatever, if this was behind closed doors, if this was through conversation, whatever, behind closed doors in his house, while you guys were kicking it, smoking a spliff, having some wine, having some beer, we don't know that.
Yeah, and that's
I'm sorry.
And Theo, you brought up a good point. Listen, okay, if you are saying, I'm gonna say this right now. If you are saying with the A in a circle with your little friends, then that is, you take that Black card up with them. Once you say it out here, they can't protect you. So they ain't gonna protect you. So, okay. So that's a little message to the people that like to slip and go, well, no one's around, you know, like
Say it. What's gonna hear you? You're not gonna get in trouble. Just say it, Joe.
Trouble, yeah.
Say it, Joe.
Just like, right, like we are white chicks or something, like, well, no one's around, like, yeah, okay, but we can't, you're not protected when you say it out in the world, out in these, no, you're not.
Because Joe will get his ass beat and y'all not gonna save him. So y'all need to course correct Joe, y'all his real friends, and keep it 100 and keep it a buck with him, let him know that he doing too much, he need to shut the fuck up, period. If y'all his real friends, if y'all real about who y'all say y'all and y'all Blackness, y'all need to tell Joe to shut the fuck up, period.
And again, Daniel Eek or Daniel Ugh. I'm going to send Daniel an email. Watch. We should have access to his email to send him an email.
You know, let's just look that up right now.
We're going to send him an email. If you want to do the right thing, promote podcasts and provide advertisement to podcasts of color. That's some real-time change that can happen.
Send it from our email, make it make sense email so they know it comes from that.
Yeah, but that's some real-time change that he can do. Promote these artists, pay these artists what they should be getting paid. Yeah, promote these podcasters the way they should be promoted. Not just the controversial, not just the deviant ones, not just these whatever. Everyone equitable. Not just the Joe Rogans of the podcast world. And mind you, the number one podcast, or I think a very popular podcast, Joe Budden's podcast, does well as well. But I don't know if he is on Spotify like us and Joe Rogan raggedy ass. Is it something more independent?
He's on Apple Podcasts, and then he's on Jay-Z's. He's distributed through Jay-Z's.
Through Jay-Z?
Tidal. He's through Tidal.
Oh, is it? Yeah, we need to look through. We need to now. And it's not because we're multi-million-dollar podcasters. We are people with integrity.
Yeah,
and I don't care if I'm paying, if I'm getting paid $1, or if I'm a homeless person in the street. I have integrity because homeless people have integrity. Disabled people have integrity. Developmentally delayed people have integrity. So you don't need to be an upper echelon or multi-billionaire or fashion whatever to have some sort of integrity. We are people of integrity. And this is everything that I'm against. Joe Rogan is everything that I despise in a human being. Arrogant, bald, unnecessarily living in his white privilege, no hairline, uneducated, Neanderthal. You know, he's everything that I despise in a human being. And I don't want to be associated with that. No, but basically just saying that, you know, we are people with integrity. This goes against a lot of the fundamental beliefs that we hold dear to our hearts and our lives. Like, you know, going around saying, but you know, I'm going to say it, going around saying nigger doesn't impact Joe Rogan.
At all.
Him saying that in a very popular podcast broadcasted and distributed by Spotify, it does impact my life and people that look like me. So it's very easy for him to have said that throughout the years without being held accountable, being called out, because it doesn't impact him. That impacts us three men sitting here, black men, in real time. And someone maybe today someone's experience being called a nigger in 2022. It's not like we're living 2,000 years in the future and people are going, oh my God, what is this word? Do you remember this nigger word that was used 2,000 years ago and it was so offensive? You know, during that time of capitalism, like we're living in Star Trek where money doesn't matter. We can make clothes. We travel to Mars in 4 minutes. We have quantum drive. Like, you know, these words, these things still impact people today. And a white man like him, so arrogant and living in his white privilege, doesn't understand the bigger picture. And Spotify, run by Daniel Ek, doesn't seem to understand the bigger picture either.
No, he understands he doesn't care because it's about his bottom line. Because when you have people like that, they bring in the money. Brings him money. So Daniel makes you want to every time I say his name. You know, doesn't give a fuck. So he just, you know.
Let's find Daniel Ek's email and send him an email and send him a link to our podcast.
So actually, I do have some information here. Oh yeah, I be looking.
You little Harriet the Spy, you.
Yes, thank you, Harriet the Spy. Okay, I love her. Yeah, you know, I agree with all of that. I really agree too with what Jasper was saying about how these straight men, you know, I mean, let's for a second kind of remove the barrier here a little bit. Like, I think straight men could get away with saying some shit that like other people can't for whatever reason, you know? And I feel like, but at the same time, to Theo's point, there's not equity, not really in it, you know? Like I feel like there's not equity in, you know, in the Dave Chappelle, you know, versus the Joe Rogan situation. Not exactly. It's just, you know, honestly, it's just sad. And it's just about integrity and it's about, you know, or lack thereof. And, you know, I feel like comedy, as much as we like to behave as if comedy does not affect the greater world or the people around us, there are situations where it indoctrinates people to act.
There we go.
Out. And I don't think this situation is any exception.
But was he even being comedic? He was having a conversation.
Oh, he purports that he was being comedic. So
please.
But
it was a conversation. It was conversational on his podcast when he said nigga. He was in the conversational, I guess, podcast.
He didn't say nigga.
Or nigga. A nigger. He said nigger. When he said nigger, when he said nigger, was in a conversational context and format on his podcast, or was it like a standard routine where he was like, so let's talk about the niggers and the, you know, was he doing that or was it like?
He said that he was referencing, let's say, oh, you know, Bob, you know, when we were walking down the street, Bob had said nigger. And I was just like, Bob, what's your problem? In context like that, sometimes it appeared. Instead of saying Bob said the N-word with the ER at the end. Once again, there's more than one way to make your point, but he chose the most low, dirty way.
He shouldn't say the word. I don't want him saying ERA. I don't want him to say either form of the word. He should have just said just said N word. Because you don't have to say the word. Like when Tammy checked old boy on the real world, because he
Yeah.
said did the same thing, and she told him no, you not to say that word. And he kept acting like he didn't get it. Like you don't have the right to say that word. So it's like I don't want to hear him say either word, because both words are offensive. But the A is, of course, it stings, because that comes with the that with pain, with it was used to create this to be down, break us down with the A ending. So it's
With the ER ending, not the A ending.
I mean, look, it's I can look. It's all it's together. It's in the same family.
Jasper, what is it that what is it, Tammy? Because you brought that up. What is it she said to? Because the other girl was trying to
The
I think she was
meme.
trying to defend it. She's
Because
like,
you
"And
Latina, you don't say
it
that either.
but you're Latina."
Yeah, because it was she's trying to help, but made it worse, because it was like she was trying to say, well, him saying the N word was wrong. Something she said was what she said was so stupid, and I was like, yeah, Tammy, yeah, I was glad she said it to her, because like, lady, you're not making no better, and you said it, and you trying to help, you actually not helping, you're making it worse, because you're not even making it, you're not even making sense of why Tammy's angry or why Tammy's upset. And then for the
No.
black man to sit there and not say shit was irritating me, because a black man sat there and didn't say a word. And that's what I'm talking about. Those people like that would sit there and not say nothing. I had a problem with that, because a black woman sit here,
we know those kind of black people. Uncle Tom.
yes, sitting here and this not saying anything. This black woman defending your race too, and you're not saying anything.
And don't get
Those are Uncle Toms.
I didn't
Yes.
mean to laugh about it necessarily, but when Tammy was like, she put a little cigarette, she go, and don't you say it either, because you're not
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good example.
Yeah, because don't say it either. Yeah, like you don't say this. You Latino. We don't come to you and say what's the slangs they say to y'all. So don't say it. Just you stay in your lane.
And we ain't gonna say it here.
Yeah, we not. Yeah, because we ain't gonna say it in here. That's why I didn't say it. But
you know, Daniel Ick will be quick to our little humble podcast.
Yes, snatch us out real quick. So.
And on that note, we're gonna write an email to Daniel Ick.
Yes.
And we're gonna reach out to the boss of Spotify, where we are being distributed. Send that information to me. I'm gonna write me a beautiful email, because I'm a wordsmith.
Yes, hopefully he
and on that
he gets it and reads it, y'all, and then we'll let y'all know. We may have a meeting with Daniel Ick, and hopefully I don't ick on the call.
And on that note, we'll talk to you guys later. Until next time.
Until next time.